story of Peter Mandelson. I think he's up to his neck in it, frankly. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been slammed as a disgrace for continuing to back Mandelson despite fresh revelations about his relationship and friendship with Jeffery Epstein. The Prime Minister insisted he still has his full confidence in his embattled US Ambassador amid growing calls for Mandelson to be sacked. We'll come to what was said in PMQs in just a moment. First, let's just remind ourselves, Mandelson did an interview with our colleague Harry Cole from his Harry Cole Saves the West programme. Let's have a little listen to what the American or the UK ambassador to America had to say.
One, I feel a tremendous sense, a profound sense of sympathy for those people, those women who suffered as a result of his behaviour and his illegal criminal activities. And secondly, I regret very, very deeply indeed carrying on that association with him for far longer than I should have done. And I regret very much that I fell for his lies. I fell and accepted assurances that he had given me about his indictment, his original criminal case in Florida. Like very many people, I took at face value what he said. With hindsight, with fresh information, many years later, we realised that we had been wrong to believe him. He's a charismatic criminal liar, we now see, and I regret very much indeed. I felt it like an albatross around my neck since his death in 2018 or 19, when it was. I feel a tremendous sense of regret, not only that I met him in the first place, but that I continued the association and I took at face value the lies that he fed me and many others.
Ah, poor Peter. Even so, the Prime Minister is sticking by his man in Washington when grilled in a fiery PMQ session earlier today. Have a listen to this.
The Ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Jeffery Epstein was convicted of child prostitution and sex trafficking that took place between 2002 and 2005. That is the precise period which Lord Mandelson called Jeffery Epstein his best pal. Absolutely. Was the Prime Minister aware of this intimate relationship when he appointed Lord Mandelson to be our ambassador in Washington?
The Ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret. He is right to do so. He's now playing an important part in the US-UK relationship.
Well, let's speak with Oliver Harvey, chief feature writer over there at The Sun. Oliver, good afternoon to you. I mean, I think this is, that was an interesting PMQs. Curiously, not that it's the time to mark people's homework in this respect, but probably Kemi Badenoch's finest moment in the sense of holding somebody to account. I thought her questions were completely appropriate. The previous clip we heard, of course, was Mandelson himself talking about this albatross. Poor old Peter, he's got this terrible, terrible pressure that was on him. Almost spectacularly, I sense, missing the real mood of the severity of this story.
Well, Lord Mandelson is used to being at the centre of a political maelstrom. He had to quit the cabinet twice. Twice, yeah. And so he knows how to fight for his political life. Of course, he's a civil servant now, and Keir Starmer will think a successful civil servant, ambassador to the court of Donald Trump, a trade deal signed. We've got Donald Trump coming over for a state visit very soon. He wouldn't want to lose him so quickly after losing his deputy prime minister. But the crux of it is, I think, and Mandelson himself almost laid the ground, saying it was a very embarrassing, in his words, stuff is yet to emerge. Now,
so there might be more to come on this.
This might be more to come, and it would depend on very much on how much contact he had with Epstein after his conviction. So he can flannel. He can talk about these holiday snaps. My best pal. He's sitting there in his bathrobe on Little St James. But after someone's been convicted of soliciting minors for prostitution, then you're in trouble, I think.
Yeah, God, we thought it was controversial when he met the Hinduja brothers. I mean, now we're in totally different territory. So here we are with this sort of defence of, Epstein was very charismatic and, I fell for his lies, etc. I mean, Mandelson's The kind of DNA of Peter Mandelson, you know, the Prince of Darkness, all of this stuff, when he came along, he was there during the Blair years. He was pre-Blair, as in working with Brown and Blair together, part of the project, as it were, for New Labour. I mean, this man had an antenna for trouble and bear traps in places where most people didn't have places. I mean, he was right on it across the board. He knew where the weaknesses were. He knew where vulnerabilities lie. No one was a greater master at that stuff. And yet, despite that, he found himself staying in a flat while the owner of that flat was in jail for crimes against a minor. The place was decorated with all sorts of works of art of young cherubic teens and goodness knows what else in various states of undress. And yet this very astute man, this real player on the political stage, failed to join any dots. He was seduced by the man's lies and writing him nice letters in his birthday card and goodness knows what else. I mean, this is it. The man is either pathologically stupid or something else is going on here where he just has to admit that, yeah, I did know what was going on and I ignored it.
I don't think he's pathologically stupid. I think his Achilles heel has always been his attraction, like a moth to the flame of wealth and power.
Correct.
So his first ejection from the cabinet was to do with a loan he took from Paymaster General Jeffery Epstein to buy a house in
beautiful townhouse.
Beautiful townhouse in Notting Hill, where lots of people would like to live. But unfortunately, if you're on a relatively modest political salary, you can't really afford places in Notting Hill.
So you ask a mate to lend you 700 grand or whatever it was.
Correct. So Epstein, incredibly wealthy, private planes to Caribbean islands, a lovely townhouse in the Upper East Side, I think, and so Mandelson's drawn to that. He's drawn to the network, the nexus of politics, celebrity, royalty. The whole thing is in Epstein's 100%. At the centre of the spider's web. And if you lie down with dogs, you get fleas.
Yeah, and that seduction was kind of, was he blinded by it? Did he just think, you know, this is... I made the very point you've just made, Oliver, in the last hour, that he was so seduced by that whole power thing. In fact, he had that quote, didn't he, about we're perfectly relaxed about being around the filthy rich.
Filthy rich, and also pay your taxes.
Yeah, indeed, back in the day. He loved a yacht, he loved a palace, he loved a powwow with the Saudi royal family, you know, he loved to take a vol au vent with a prince or a princess, and, you know, he enjoyed all of that. He was kind of almost in it for partly that reason, and everything about that he found, you know, mesmeric and just too much to resist. And I suppose the Epstein thing, knowing that Epstein had spent the previous 20 years, you know, with the likes of Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, all sorts of other people, a real centre of sort of New York and American society. But by that stage, it was out the bag, and that's what makes this damning, isn't it? If all this friendship happened before any revelation, there's no story here, really. But the story is, actually, no, it was while it was going on. How do you survive that? I mean, even by his standards, you rightly said at the top of it, he came back twice, and I think he really came back a third time, didn't he? Because he came back to help Brown out. He went to the EU as a commissioner. He's been all over the show, this fella.
He has, and you know, we've talked about his love of wealth and power. He currently sits in one of the grandest abodes in the whole of the American continent, which is the British Embassy in Washington. It's a lovely Edward Lutyens building, and he would have probably thinking this is the kind of apex almost of his career. The guy that was one of the architects in New Labour, as a fixer extraordinaire, now working with with the Trump White House, and here he is at the centre of yet another political firestorm. Now, I mean, one Labour MP is also already calling for his head. Left-winger Bell Ribio Addy. Tories want an investigation, and Starmer's now come out and backed him to the hilt in the House of Commons.
And the more serious point about this is that, and I would stand by this, is Mandelson's friendship with Epstein and people like Mandelson were the very reason that Epstein could get away with this stuff for so long, because it's right at the centre of, if you like, high-end establishment, plutocratic billionaire figures that swirl around the scene. And by surrounding yourself with people who are influential in different ways, whether they're a tech millionaire, whether they're a political operator like Mandelson is the reason these people were legitimised, which is the reason why it took so long sometimes to pursue the Harvey Goldsteins and the Epsteins, because people just assumed it can't be them, or even if they thought it was them, they're untouchable. I would say this is more than like a minor error for Mandelson. I think his association with this man actually makes it quite sinister.
Well, I think Epstein, he is a clever, manipulative, charismatic, clearly, because he's managed to inveigle all these people into his web. But these people, the rich and famous that he collected like trinkets, were being used as collateral damage in a way, used as a get-out clause. Hey, I can't be this weirdo, sex fiend, because look at my friends around the table who I've coming to dinner, who's staying in my townhouse. So he's manipulated these people. He's lured them in hook, line, and sinker, and they've fallen for it. And they they're either greedy, stupid, or incredibly poorly misjudged.
Yeah. Or a mixture of all three.
Or a mixture of all three. And in a way, we forget about the victims of Epstein quite a lot, and they are calling for Mandelson to go. Well, so we don't know exactly who, but reports coming out of America. Now, if that groundswell increases, if they're calling for Mandelson's head, then Sir Keir Starmer's going to have to sort of look and is this guy now for the chop, we know
how these things work. There's a natural tipping point that kicks in, isn't there? Campbell used to talk about if you're making the headlines for 5 days on the trot or something, then that's the point of no return. And you sense from this, I don't know what you think. Can he survive this? I mean, if anyone can, people say, well, Mandelson can.
Mandelson would be, it'd be furiously like a duck on water. The legs would be going furiously. 100%. Calls would be being made. Yeah. Favours are being called in. It really, really depends on, is there an email trove? Is there an email trove between Mandelson and Epstein after he was convicted? That's what remains to be seen. And if, and where that... presumably Mandelson, does he have access to his communications? He can now go back and check and see what was said, and has he presented that to Keir Starmer? Was he vetted? Was that looked at when he got this plum roll?
I can't imagine Mandelson at the moment is having very good night's sleep because, as you said, Mandelson himself said, well, there might be more to come out, which kind of sort of suggests that these aren't just going to be, the odd communication, but something that might be damning. It certainly hints at that.
I don't know what you thought, Ian, when looking at Harry Cole's it's a great get. I've got a hat tip to Harry Saves the West.
Unbelievable,
really good get, really good exclusive.
And only Harry can call his own show Harry Cole Saves the West, of course.
Which remains to be seen.
None of us will get away with that, Norrie. But Harry can.
Let's see how Harry gets on.
We'll see whether you save the West, Harry Cole. We're watching you.
So where were we? We were talking about...
Yes, you were talking about the reaction in Harry's questions to him.
Oh yeah, that's right. So Mandelson said it's been like a sort of an albatross around my neck, and there was a hint I thought in his demeanour there that it's true. This has been weighing on him, and he obviously knows what's out there and what could come out.
Yeah,
and he did look like the pressure was coming down on him there a bit.
And he must have thought, when he got that job as ambassador, it's the perfect kind of retirement gig. I'll do, the term of the Trump presidency, and then off I go. He's got pensions coming out of his ear holes all over the place. He doesn't want for any money. And I can go away into the sunset and think, wasn't it great? But he could join that, frankly, long, disturbing line of people who leave with an element of disgrace, even if he's not the perpetrator of this, but nonetheless a supporter of.
Well, that embassy's grandiose. There would be, you can imagine the cocktail parties of schmoozing
every day.
I mean, as you say, what a way to end a political career. As bartering with the Trump administration and getting results.
Yeah, but his best friend was a paedophile. And he
my
knew
best pal. Yeah, my best pal.
And
so this is going to. I mean, as you said, how many days can it be in the spotlight before action is taken? And it depends what's coming out and what's down the line.
Yeah, I bet you've never been so busy with sources and contacts at the moment, Oliver, waiting to see what happens next.
And you've got to remember this guy, yes, he's one of our most senior diplomats now. He's the, you know, obviously the most senior ambassador, but he's more than that, because he is one of the architects of the new Labour, the current, which is a strand into centrist Starmer politics. He isn't just some diplomat we never heard of. He's key to modern Labour, and if he, you know, if there are misdemeanors uncovered, then it's not going to look good for the current administration.
Well, I was going to say, because ultimately, although this currently isn't the actual story, but the kind of next part of it is, this is about Starmer's judgment, isn't it? Starmer appointed this.
The Starmer appointee, Starmer's now stood up in the Commons and stood by it, standing by him in unequivocal terms.
Correct.
He's backing his man. I mean, he used to criticise Boris for backing people he thought should go. So yeah, his Starmer's political credibility is also up for grabs this week. You know, depending on where this Mandelson story goes now. So yeah, he very much has expended political capital on Peter Mandelson today.
It's funny, if you were asking random people, give us the name of two well-known, high-profile Labour figures. It wouldn't be long before two people said, oh, I don't know, Angela Rayner, Peter Mandelson. They'd come up in that same breath, and yet, you know, one walked the plank last week and one might be walking the plank this week.
No, absolutely.
Funny times.
And it's not going to look good if he loses two senior figures.
100%.
In such a short space of time.
We'll see. Listen, Oliver, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Again. We'll keep in touch and find out what the next instalment is of this curious story. And no one saw this coming a week or so back, but there it is. Mandelson back in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons.